Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. Well, if you haven't heard already, Senator Dianne Feinstein passed away this morning, and one of the things that I have to say is that she was very diligent her uh, with her position, and she even was cast her final vote last night on a bill, and so. Uh, This is about remembering Dianne Feinstein and not so much about whether I agreed with her politics or not. Um, she did a lot of good in the Senate. She was a changer. She was a change maker, and she was a younger person at that time. And that's why I've been saying we need to remove some of the older folks that have been here in politics. Nancy Pelosi had stepped down, but now she's running for re-election, and here she is. She's going to be 82, 83 when she's reelected, and here, no disrespect to Senator Feinstein, she was 90. She needed to step away, even though she had a lot of good ideas and she did a lot of good. She made a lot of change in the Senate and in American politics. So she was a trailblazer. She One of the things that I also remember that she worked very diligently on was the Brady bill. Shortly after uh, the shooting there, the Ronald Reagan shooting, the Brady bill was passed and stayed in effect for 10 years. I didn't agree with that at the time, but it was a very different time than it is right now. And I already had my federal firearms license at the time, so I didn't really care too much. But I I did like the fact that um, she led the way at trying to control guns from getting into the hands of criminals and people who shouldn't have guns. And there was a lot of legislation that I did agree with. The background checks, mental uh, background checks, also for ability to know how to shoot your guns. Any gun that you're going to be carrying, you have to be able to be very, very proficient at it. I shot at an extremely high level with my handguns and also long guns. So um, age matters, and what I have the biggest concern I had voting for President Biden was his age back then, because one of the things that I kept telling everybody, I said, it's a good thing he's got a much younger vice president, kind of like what Ronald Reagan originally, or what whoever. Oh, it was George H.W. Bush had much younger Dan Quayle for his vice president, and that wasn't exactly the best choice, Dan Quayle. I agree with having the much younger uh, vice president. I like that, and I would like to see the age come down from where it is right now in the Senate, which is in nearing 60 as the average age in the Senate. And so one of the things that we have to worry about is a lot of these bills not making it to fruition because the authors, these senators of the bills, die. And so that's one of the things that we also risk. And also with Joe Biden, POTUS 46 here, um, we're running the risk of him dying in office, and that's a very serious matter to consider when voting for the next president. all during the selection process. Um, I'm going to be looking at both sides to see who are the front runners. It definitely will not be Trump, because Trump is going to be busy, wearing striped suits and little orange jumpsuits pretty soon. So uh, we'll see who comes out of the Republican Party as a possible candidate. I would like to see a much younger president, uh, um, candidate, presidential candidate in the Democrat Party. But unfortunately, what we typically see is that um, parties don't send up anybody really that strong. And so Kamala Harris is a high probability that she could become the first female president of the United States in the event that Joe Biden does not wake up one morning, or he suddenly falls over and doesn't get back up. And that's a high probability at his age. Here we're seeing him having some mobility issues. He's still doing really good at moving, but you can see the mobility issues, and that's because of age. And then we had Senator Feinstein. She was in a wheelchair, but she did her job. And we're seeing like Mitch McConnell, that old dude. He vapor locks. His mind locks up on him, and so that's another thing that we have to seriously look at, why we need to remove the older folks from politics and bring in the young ideas, kind of like back when or Dianne Feinstein was a young senator. She brought new ideas and new visions to the Senate and to politics. And that's what we need. We need an infusion of young blood into politics of today. And that's what's missing today. So, my sympathies and my condolences go out to the Feinstein family. She did a lot of good for this country. She, I would say, she was more of closer to a moderate than a left wing person. That's what all the Republicans call her. Lefty, uh, but she was progressive, but in a moderate way, and much closer to where I am uh, in politics, rather than uh, it's an all or nothing, pulling the party line, which I don't ever do. I'll never do that. I didn't do it when I was a Democrat in my early, younger voting days, when I first was eligible for voting. And then when I got into government work, I switched to being a Republican, because most of my work came from the Republican Party, uh, and a Republican White House, a Republican POTUS. And I didn't get anywhere near as much work when there was a Democrat in charge. And so um, that's the politics, that's the government work, and you have to be flexible. And we need to get rid of the old guard, is what I'm saying. The old guard is hindering new ideas from coming online. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.